Darkness. This was his first thought after waking up. He's thinking about where he is and why he can think, because he clearly remembers being hit by the thugs. Again and again he tried to move or open his eyes, but all he felt was darkness and narrowness. Eventually he realized that he was still alive and began to think about leaving home in the future. Go abroad, then apply for a job with a cleaning service. Since he remembered, he loved playing games, reading books and getting drunk. His parents ended up yelling at him every day for his terrible schoolwork. He figured the situation was largely his fault. After all, he'd been drunk most of his life. When he was 14, he saw his friends falling in love or dressing up. Yet, he only felt curiosity towards sex without ever being able to really bind with someone. He thinks it's ruled by money. People sadly labor to accumulate all that paper. And so pondering, the days went by. Until suddenly, one day, there was light in the world and it got bigger and bigger. He followed without hesitation. As he adjusted to the light, he saw a middle-aged woman touching his chest. Until the fat woman gently slapped him on the arse, he couldn't help cursing. But what came out of his mouth was a shrill cry. Everyone in the room relaxed after hearing the cries. He was carried to his mother, at which point he realized that he seemed to have been reborn. Before he knew it, his mom started breastfeeding him, and named him Noah Balvan. At that moment, a man came into the room. He made a strong statement that he wanted to see the baby, and with that, he picked up Noah straight away. Lily was slightly offended by this. Reese looked at the kid and ended up giving this son of his not-so-great reviews. And then he gave the baby back to Lily. Lily protests that his children should not be looked down upon. Instead, Reese talked about how Noah had the blood of a prostitute in addition to his blood. After saying that, he left, leaving the woman alone with her grief. No one notices that a baby stare. What had just happened made Noah realize that this family wasn't simple, and secretly decided to learn the language of this world as soon as possible. Thinking so, he closed his eyes and went to sleep.
5 months have passed since Noah was reborn in this world. Months was born in a huge manor, much like a country house in a previous life. At that moment he lay in his mother's arms, peeking around as she walked through the mansion. The language of this world is not difficult, and has a lot in common with English in the previous world. His mother carried him around the mansion, and gave him an idea of the mansion. Noah's father, Reese, was the third and last son of the old patriarch of the Balvan family, Thomas. Therefore, they can live comfortably outside the circle. Mom wants him to become stronger, and not be bullied by people in the circle. After being reborn, Noah became a pawn of the family, and lived another meaningless life. He appreciated the affection and the efforts of this new mother, but these feelings were far from the love he should have had for a parent. Therefore, Noah wanted to escape from the family even more. As night fell, Lily took him to the balcony and looked at the stars in the sky. As night fell, Lily took him to the balcony and looked at the stars in the sky. Outside the defense wall, there were sheep grazing the fields. There was a large stone road that started from the main gate of the mansion and stretched in the distance, cutting the green fields into two halves. Noah looked up into the sky, and he noticed something was wrong. A dark dot in the evening sky is rapidly approaching. A black winged body fell from the clouds diagonally, speeding toward the flock of sheep outside the mansion wall. Suddenly, the castle was covered with purple runes, and the purple runes spread towards the flock. The moment the purple halo touched the dragon, smoke rose from the pit and another roar, one of pain, sounded in the dusk. The angry black dragon spat deadly flames towards the castle. A sea of fire came towards Lily, and she froze in fear. Before the flames could reach the outer wall though, a figure appeared mid-air in between them. The white-haired old man opened his palm and chanted the incantation, and the deadly sea of fire stopped in front of the old man. He looked at the dragon right in its eyes, and the dragon did the same. That standoff lasted for about 10 seconds before the dragon roared once again and turned to leave at high speed through the sky, in the direction of the forest. Lily remained frozen in place. The white-haired old man flashed in front of Lily. "So, this is my newest grandson, am I right?" What the old man said.
The sun is rising. The sky is getting brighter. His thoughts were thrown into a tizzy as he stared blankly at the old man who seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. A dragon appeared and chased a sheep. So there are dragons in this world, and my grandfather chased the dragon away. Thomas entering the balcony and slowly walking in their direction. Lord Patriarch, this is Noah. It's mine and Reese's son. Lowering her head, Lily gently exposed Noah to Thomas. Maybe Lily wanted to use this occasion to impose a tinge of love in Thomas for his grandson so that he could protect him in the future. Meanwhile, Noah extends his little hand to Thomas to show his affection. In his previous world, dragons were just legends, considered powerful and invincible. But in this world, man could defeat dragons. Looking at the baby happily stretching his arms toward him, Thomas couldn't help but have a smile on his face. Then he picked Noah up, said, "Oh, he seems to be interested in me. The boy is so smart. I'll keep an eye on him from time to time." Hearing this, Lily immediately bowed and said, "Many thanks, Lord Patriarch. I'm sure that his safety can be assured for life with just one gaze of yours." Thomas handed Noah back to Lily and disappeared from the balcony. Lily couldn't contain her excitement. "The patriarch of the Balvan family will keep an eye on my son. This is wonderful. Not only my son will be protected by a mighty cultivator, he might also be away from the battlefield for life." As she carried Noah back to the ground floor, she didn't notice the silence of the child in her arms. "The power to solve all problems. I must have it, but there's a slight risk. The purity of the bloodline is kept in high regard inside the Balvan family, so showing some talent might attract unwanted attention from the main family descendants." He could imagine the blood that would be shed in the fight for the succession, and never felt determination ran through his little body, and Lily had carried him back to the bedroom and was about to put him in his crib. From that day on, he began to eat more and soon attempted to walk, first in his crib and then on the floor. And so it was that Noah took his first steps just 8 months after his birth. The maids marveled at Noah's efforts. Every time he falls, he doesn't cry but tries to get up again. Noah held onto the wall and slowly walked in his mother's direction. Lily was half on her knees with spread arms waiting for Noah to reach her embrace. Noah walked towards her with open arms, flung himself into his mother's arms and shouted at the last moment, "Mommy!" Lily was shocked and looked at him with wide eyes. Time kept passing, and rumors about an intellectual prodigy spread through the Balvan family. 5 years had passed since his birth in this world, with him working hard to improve himself and gain a stable foothold in the family. 2.5 years ago, he finally got his teacher, so he could stop sneaking out at night trying to decipher the strange symbols they called writing. His teacher name was Regnes. He was one of the scholars hired by the main family to instruct their descendant, and his position in the family was quite high for a guest. Regnes was a man in his 60s, with white hair tied in a ponytail and a short white beard noticeably cured. He had an apathetic face as if nothing was of his interest, and explained things in a slow but concise manner. After that, he would finish every book the scholar imparted him in less and less time, and he even had time to rent books of his interest from the library on the ground floor. The servants were so used to him picking books that they would not even remind him to bring them back. Finally, about a year before, Noah found a book about cultivation. It was an old and heavy book, written by a cultivator that wanted to spread the notion of cultivation to the common people, and that later became a classic of literature. The cultivator's name was lost with the passage of time, but the name of the book was still known to all people of culture as Yin-Yang System. Noah was currently having a lesson with Regnes about philosophy in a room on the first floor of the guest's building, but his mind was constantly wandering on the topics described in the Yin-Yang System. Even though Lee was engrossed in his exposition, he started to notice that Noah would just nod at him and answer every time he would look at him, while his eyes had been staring fixedly at the same point of the book in front of him for 1 hour.
"Are you still thinking about that cultivation nonsense? How many times do I have to tell you? Don't waste your time. Never mind, just go to rest and don't wander in the library all night like your usual. I'll see you again in 2 days and you will better have forgotten about all that cultivation garbage."
Massaging his temples, he said that while pointing the exit door to Noah. At his words, Noah got up, picked his books, bowed and then left the room. His black long hair kept growing, so his mother would often comb them for him, occasionally meeting Reese deep in the night. His black long hair kept growing, so his mother would often comb them for him. Truth was that Noah wasn't spending his time in the library anymore since he had turned 8. He would rather go to the guards building doing chores in exchange for some combat tips. Lily discovers that Noah can't find anything related to cultivation in the library, so she wants him to focus on the guards. A slap hit Lily's left cheek. She yelled lightly, and then she recomposed herself in a half-kneeling position with her head lowered and a metallic taste enveloping her mouth. Reese roared, "Remember your position. Remember that it was me who allowed you to give birth to that bastard." Lily completely kneeled and constantly begging for forgiveness. At the same time, a kid about 10 to 11 years old was carrying 2 large buckets of water to a group of guards sweating under the sun. Noah remembered what his mother had said when she hugged him before, even though Noah could see a trace of disappointment in Lily's eyes. Lately, whenever he would go back to his quarters, he would find some new bruises on his mother's body, and yet he never saw Lily without a smile when she looked at him. Noah wanted to try a little harder to make Lily happy, and he smiled at the thought of it. Sadly, it was interrupted by a guard yelling to him let him not giggle like an idiot. The guard yelled at Noah about the things that Noah had pretended to be naive before. He was right though. In the previous 2 years, Noah managed to obtain some techniques by faking innocence in front of some lonely and tired guard. A group of guards cheered and decided with the game who would teach the stinky boy. In the meantime,
Noah went to the training swords deposit to pick a short saber out of habit. The guards building featured a large courtyard at the center in order to give the guards a spacious and private place to train. Noah only managed to get in thanks to his initial fake innocence and his diligence in doing their chores. He came back to the group of guards with a steel blunt short saber. The guards were, by then, used to this kid able to wield with quite dexterity the saber with his hand. A bald, tall, muscular guard stood at the far end of the line. Mickey sprinted toward Noah while using his arms in a crossed guard to cover his head and chest. Noah was in a suitable position ready to stab him. Noah quickly dodged the guard's attacks and line of sight. The guard lowered down to attack Noah, but Noah did not dodge, but went behind his back in a strange way. Noah finally did it in actual combat, so he released his grip on the knife. Noah was knocked to the ground. The guard told Noah that he was not using his full strength. After that, Mickey cheered, happy to have triumphed on a 10-year-old kid. Noah told him that you are very good, and you are going home to rest. Noah stood up and walked slowly towards the building.